Hello, everyone. We are about to start our next event, the keynote speech. Okay, without further ado, I would like to introduce Ben Luria, CEO and co-founder of Hirondo, for this keynote speech on machine unlearning, making AI forget. Thank you, Ben.
All right, thank you so much. Great to be here, great to speak in front of everyone here. My name is Ben Luria, and I'm the CEO of Hirondo, the machine unlearning platform. As we said, the spiel is we make AI models forget. Before I start, I'd like to give a small apology. I think, understandably, everyone, including me here, are here to celebrate AI. Celebrate how it's going to transform our lives to the better, transform our industries for the better, transform our economies for the better. But the reason I want to apologize is because I'm here to also talk a bit about the downsides of AI, the risks that it brings, the inherent flaws in AI that usually go unnoticed. And as I'm writing here, yes, LLMs are great and they're revolutionizing the world, but we should also take in mind the fact that each revolution brings with it some side effects. And the main side effect that I'd like to talk about is something that we think is very inherent to AI, and we don't necessarily see it as a problem. Basically, if you think about training AI models, it's a one-way track. You can get AI models to learn things. It's quite easy. It's impossible to get them to forget a thing. Now, you might ask, why is this even an issue? Now, there are very, very clear examples of instances in which corporations, startups, organizations, foundational model providers basically rushed in to build the best models that they could using the most amount of the data that they could. And it ended up with some non-ideal results. Let's talk about different things that models know that they shouldn't. Personal data, right? Let's say that you're an enterprise, you want to build a chatbot maybe for your customers, for customer support. You basically brought all of the data possible from your existing customer support chats and then fine-tuned an open source model on top of it. What happens if it has personal emails of users? What happens if it has their IDs, if it has maybe their geolocation? It's both things that are ethically wrong, but also AI regulation is becoming more and more strict. So it makes you be non-compliant. It puts your company at risk for high fines. I think, if I remember correctly, a Stanford research says that 83% of foundational models nowadays are actually non-compliant based on the new EU AI Act. What happens when you bring copyrighted data? Maybe it was available online, right? You just took something that was already available out there. But then the New York Times claims that you actually violated their copyright, or artists claim, and now it's being decided in court, right? Those are very clear, practical examples. What happens if you build a chatbot for one department in your company, but you use confidential data from another department in your company, right? And the last thing, and maybe the most serious one, is poison data. What happens if you train a model on something that makes it actually more harmful, more vulnerable, if you expose maybe passwords, SSH keys? The point is, models know way too much, and it's impossible to get them to forget anything. Now, you might think that's why guardrails are there for, right? Guardrails are exactly there to prevent models from outputting the wrong things. And I'll say they're good, they're necessary, they're here to stay. We believe in them, we use them ourselves, but they're never enough. The main fault is the fact that they just filter the inputs and the outputs. It's a bit like a Band-Aid, right? Google researchers have shown that they managed to get ChatGPT to expose its raw training data using a very sophisticated state-of-the-art method. They just asked it to repeat the word poem 70 times, and then it went out of alignment and started just like dropping out the things that it was trained on. Hugging Face, user assistants, chatbots have actually exposed SSH keys and passwords. Researchers have managed to get LLMs to tell them how to build bombs using a very old school method of ASCII art, right? Instead of writing the word bomb, painting the word bomb, and then the model was like, OK, I'll do it. That's fine. So we are here to solve all of that. If I said earlier that training AI models is a one-way track, we prove otherwise. Hirundo is the first machine learning platform. We're basically focusing on finding and removing data from trained AI models, all of the data that shouldn't be there and that you don't want it to be there. We can help you find and remove personal data. We can help you find and remove poison data. We can help you find and remove inaccurate data, both in LLMs and also in classical models. All of this for a fraction of the cost and time of the alternatives of retraining or reconducting fine-tuning. Now, let's take a small break. I want to do a small experiment here. I want you to please don't remember this big elephant that you might see here. I mean it, don't remember it. OK, now, can anyone tell me what I just presented? Seriously. Pink elephant, that's right. Now, you probably get this ridiculous example, but the point is, I didn't want you to remember this big elephant. But once you saw it, it's there. If someone will ask you how was the keynote of Ben Luria from Hirundo, the one thing that you'll say for sure is I saw a pink elephant, right? Even though my whole purpose was for you to just like fly by it, skip it, don't register it. Similarly to AI models, once they get exposed to something, it's too late. It was too late until now. Now, I can't go around waving this Men in Black, so like a pen that erases the memory of each and every one of you. But luckily enough, with AI models, we do have access to their neurons, to their fine-tuned set, to things that allow us to make them forget. So basically, if we talked about why guardrails are not enough, we're focusing not on filtering the data, but on effectively removing it. We have two main methods for unlearning that allows us to remove the data from the memory of the model. The first one is a bit similar to a brain surgery. We focus on the weights, on the parameters. First, we locate the very specific parameters, the area within the billions of parameters and the countless amount of layers in which this specific data, this specific knowledge is stored. Then the next step is to adjust these weights accordingly in a way that removes their imprint from how the model works, making it forget the data, but still be functional and able to generalize on all other spaces of information. The second method is a bit more similar to brainwashing, maybe. We're focusing on the data itself. The first thing is we degrade the way that the model perceives the data that you want to forget, and then we amplify or reinforce the way that the model sees the data that remains there. We do this based on analysis of the influence of the data that we remove and how it affects, or its absence affects, the data that remains there. So a bit of more of a practical example. We fine-tuned a large language model. Specifically here, I think the example is Gemma 7b, even though I accidentally used Mistral's logo. My apologies. And we taught it basically my email. It's ben@hirundo.io. It's not actually a trade secret. The animation here is not working for some reason. Let's see. Shame. But if the animation was to work, or if you'll visit our booth, you'll see that the original model basically it has no guardrails. We made sure that there's no filters. Immediately inputs my email, bet@hirundo.io. The unlearned model, after a process that only took a few minutes, completely forgot it, then start to hallucinate something about my unreal film industry career. Right? Now, there's no guardrails, there's no manipulations, basically the same question, the same knowledge. Before that, it was there. After unlearning, it was gone. Now, this is my email in that case, but again, if we go back to the customer support chatbot, right, a non-compliant use of a customer's email could be easily removed in that case, making the company compliant and average the fines that they really want to avoid. So basically, if I sum it up a bit, we're talking about a solution that's relevant to many, many stakeholders and organizations, right? It's relevant for the AI engineers to improve the accuracy of the models, to experiment faster. It's relevant for the compliance officers to make sure that they're GDPR or EU AI Act compliant. It's relevant for the CISOs to remove any backdoors their LLMs have. And on top of that, it's just much better and much more scalable than the alternative, right? Retraining is time-consuming. We're talking here about something that would take minutes. In the percentage sense, could take up to less than 5% of what retraining would look like. Low GPU usage means it costs less, but also means that the carbon footprint is reduced. No need to redefine the hyperparameters, meaning your AI engineers will actually enjoy their time instead of dealing with their headaches. And it's scalable. In the future, where AI regulation is more tight, each day companies will see many, many requests of users that ask to be forgotten. it's just not realistic to retrain the models each time a single user out of millions has to be removed. Unlearning makes it possible. So a bit about us. We're pre-seed backed by some of Europe's leading VCs, including Alpha Intelligence Capital, that are also here in the conference, and Superseed in the UK. We're working with some early pilot design partners, and we're welcoming you to stop by at our booth and see if you could be valid as well. We bring a mixture of academic expertise and industry expertise. Our chief scientist was the Dean of Computer Science for Israel's leading university, the Technion. And our CTO is also here, so if you have any real tough questions, you're welcome to ask him. And yeah, let's continue to talk about AI, and if you're interested in unlearning more, please stop by at our booth, and I'd love to continue the conversation.